Hello, friends. It's John Klein III with episode 71 of Shadow Flame of Magic, the podcast. And today we're going to review Excalibur 105. So let's get to it. If I had just held this comic next to the Beast one for more than 2 seconds when I realized B came before E, the cover even says January 97. I would have even noticed it. And it's a wicked cover by Brian Hitch, who does the interior art. But it's of Doug Locke. It's all black with Doug Locke being shiny yellow. It would have cost you $1.95 or 275 cans. It is comic book approved, or comic coded approved. Inside cover ad is looks like Honeycomb teaming up with Hot Wheels and Uno. So that made sense at one point. It reminds me of when Star Wars, it had to be episode 1 came out, and there was a Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, and Pepsi combination commercial. And it was like, well, what do those three things have in common? And what they have in common is one parent company. And it was before I even took my media class, where it was like, how many companies does Disney own? And it was a bunch of them. And so they own the same company. I mean, I forget what it is, well, what it was then and what it is now. It might be two different things. But we are reviewing this issue. It's my second of the two individual comics I own by Keith Giffen that he wrote. And so just want to continue remembering him due to his recent passing. And so this is issue 105. It came out in January 1997. It's titled Hard Truths. Writer Keith Giffen. Penciler Brian Hitch, who's still working today. Inks Paul Neary. Ink assist by Hitch and Riggs. So I wonder who Riggs is. Letterer Richard Starkings and Comic Craft. Colors Arian Linshock. Separation by Malibu. Which I wonder if this is before they just hand all coloring to Malibu. Editor Mark Edison. Chief Bob Harris. And based on a story by John Arcudi. And the issue starts off very dramatic with Kitty Pryde coming out from the ground with a nah. And Wolfsbane's there. Like, Kitty! Which is a horrible Scottish impression. And Douglas just standing there unamused. And Kitty had just come up from because she's under impression Doug Locke is just Doug with the techno organic virus. Meanwhile, the whole time he's like, that's not me, I'm just Doug Locke. Like, sorry, my face looks like your friend Doug. Because they're not emphasizing the Locke in the Doug Locke. He's like, I knew this was a bad idea. Shut up, Doug. Doug Locke. Shut up. Kitty, are you, oh girl, if you're gonna be sick, best you do it out of my sight or I'll be joining in on the facilities. No, I'm okay. It's just give me a second too. I am sorry for your distress, but I told you that. What have you done? There's a body in that grave. Yes, Douglas Ramsey's. That's not possible. You're Doug. Dear God, what have you done? Done? I do not understand what you... And I legit needed this panel, or this extra next bubble, because I was like, what is the implication? But they explained it. You know, this is pretty nice artwork. Like, I know it's a young Brian Hitch, and you compare this to, like, Ultimate Invasion, it's like, oh, wow, he's come a long way. But there's a lot of details here. I see. You expect the grave to be empty, didn't you? What did you think? I rose from the graves and replaced my body with that of a John Doe? Maybe I killed that John Doe myself in a desperate attempt at covering up my tracks? Which I think is him just going extreme of, like, how far do you think this went? After all, one never knows when an intangible mutant might decide to stop by to pay her respects. Up close and personal, is this what you think of me? When you put it that way, it does sound like a little. Okay, I'm a jerk. Satisfied? And everyone loves it when a kitty can do just says the word jerk. You do the meme of like, I see what you like the Jake Gyllenhaal. I see what you did there. Or the Leonardo DiCaprio point. Little tip of the hat. Doug, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. Douglock, my name is Douglock. I am not now, nor have I ever been Douglas Ramsey. Is this really so hard for you to accept? I do not mean to sound harsh, but I am fast reaching the limits of my tolerance for this nonsense. Douglas Ramsey's dead. A hard truth, but a truth nonetheless. And what a nice title drop. Which I don't even know if comics even have titles anymore. Should check the next modern one, but I'm trying to think, did X-Men 27 have a title? I think it did. I think I think they all do, now that I think of it, with the credit page. I think there's a title there with all the credits. Summary. Which this comic could have used. Oh gosh, oh golly, oh wow, did review this one, because when I went to the Wikipedia page for Keith Giffen and went to, as I do of all great comic creators, or I should just say all recently past comic creators when I go to their page, but I feel like unless they weren't great, I don't think I'm told like that of their passing, which is sad. Hopefully we're not having nameless comic creators who pass and it's like, oh, someone should get the word out, because honestly someone should. I remember there's that great, is it the first Thanksgiving episode of West Wing where Toby meets a unhoused veteran and the president's like, well, what should we do? Give all unhoused veterans like military funerals? And he's like, yes. And it's like, yeah, we really should. They all earn that. Which I know when my mother passes, she's always stressed that she wants to be buried in this one particular dress and that she deserves her army burial. And it's like, yeah, heck yeah, you do, Ma. Yeah, when my father-in-law passed, and Dennis Brandman, much love, he was given his proper military funeral, and it was like, yeah, you just make a phone call and they just show up. And it was amazing the number of people who showed up too, because it's like, it wasn't like well advertised or anything, but clearly when you report it and they get the band together, they clearly tell everyone else about it. So it's just, I don't know, anyone's recent passing makes me think of all the other ones. Sort of like the idea of like when you're young, you're just like, oh, heaven could exist, maybe not, whatever. Go to church because my parents tell me to go to church. But then the older you get and the more people who pass, and you just start thinking about like, oh no, heaven has to exist, right? Because we gotta see these people again. Like, a little comforting thought. But maybe that's just me. Anyways, let's get back to this comic book. Sharing too much of my thoughts. Then tell me why you look exactly like him. Why do you choose his face of all things? I cannot. I can only tell you what I know. That I know that I am not your friend Douglas Ramsey. I know this, Kitty. I wish for your sake it were otherwise. But it is not. I am Douglock. No more, no less. Douglock. And Kitty goes, mm-hmm. And Rain, who I wish I could do in action, was like, nay, works for me. Horrible. Muir Island Medical Research Station. And the Mutant Liberation Front, being led by Danny Moonstar, who's deep undercover, is invading, the Muir Island Medical Research Station. And Moira is telling the two Petes to get ready. And to their credit, they just start working together, Colossus and Pete Wisdom, Petor. And they're just running off to confront them. And one now, in retrospect, wonders if Mariah remembers this. Because I'm constantly doing, like, whenever I read a Mariah impression, I'm like, hey, or appearance, like in a back issue. I'm like, so when she did this time in this 10th life, is she just like, this is happening again? All right, I get it. My Excalibur days. And so she's telling them that they have to lead the charge because she needs Kurt on running the security system. And so it's up to them. Excuse me. Should pause that. And so I don't recognize these mutants, and I don't think they give a good name roster to who they are all. And thanks to Marvel Fandom, it is Moonstar, of course, Forearm, who I should have taken a guess, and they do say his name, Wildside, and Unnamed Mercenaries. Well, no, there's definitely a fifth person. Wait, who's the person with the... Oh, no, I guess it is those two. All right, but I thought at one point... Oh, maybe this is not where they take that one guy prisoner. So it's Forearm and Wildside. Let you take a guess if I'm going to remember Wildside going forward. But they have knocked out Captain Britain and Megan in an earlier issue, and so they're just carrying them around like life insurance. No, that's not what they call it. As living shields, which if you're going to do a drinking game, you would get at least 3 drinks. And we get Danny's inner monologue about how she's can't believe that she's let it go this far. Oh yeah, because they're looking for the Xavier protocols as Onslaught just happened or is happening. There's a full page ad here for East Coast Comics. We get to a pizzeria. So they're in Westchester for Kitty, Rain, and Douglock. And they're all wearing the kick-ass brown bomber jackets that was all the rage in the late 90s. Been ages since we've been here. This was almost like a second home back in the old nose to the grindstone days. I have never been here before. Oh, good. Our favorite table is free. Just make sure neither of you guys accidentally shut off your image inducers or, well, we'll have a lot of explaining to do. Which I guess is just a fun way for Hitch to not have to draw Rain not in her mid-wolf form. I'll get the slices. Can I have mine with, I remember, be back in a flash. Ugh, she is persistent. Nay, is that what's being called now? And so Kitty's talking to a waitress who, Kitty's wondering if Gino's working. The waitress is like, Gino hasn't been here in like over a year. Because, Kitty's been part of Excalibur. She doesn't get to stateside that often. There's a 2-page advertising here about Top Cow and Marvel making a crossover event with Weapon X and Weapon Zero and Silver Surfer, Ghost Rider and Sideblade, Ghost Rider and Ballistic, Ghost Rider and Sideblade, Ghost Rider and Ballistic. Oh, they might just be talking about the titles and I'm just reading the highlighted words. And it looks like Weapon Zero and Silver Surfer gets barely any attention. It's all about Ghost Rider. Because it's the late 90s. When the Punisher, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Surge were all rage. And so Rain and Douglock are talking about why they came here. And Douglock's just... like, he knows what the story is. Kitty's just constantly gonna keep ignoring the Douglock pleads for, like, sanity. And, it's not a bad issue. I mean, the Mutant Liberation Front's part of the MOF is part of the weaker aspect of the game issue. But, like, the interpersonal scenes are just top notch. Like, I'm loving it. I mean, I wish Kitty wasn't being so stubborn, but she thought her friend Doug came back, and instead it's a robot shell who's like, I'm not Doug, I'm sorry. But also I've said sorry 4 issues in a row now, and so, time to get it done. And I don't know, I think it's at least 2 issues, but maybe this is the second of 2 as a trend for this issue. And then Kitty comes back with some pizza. Here we go. 2 slices anchovies. Geez, Rain, how can you eat that stuff? Which I've only ever had anchovies once ever, and being a Ninja Turtle fan, just knowing like you never want anchovies. And they're salty, so I don't know who likes them. But also, I'm a guy who likes ham and pineapple pizza, so maybe my taste in pizzas is also stands to grow upon. And 2 slices heavy sausage for you, Doug, just the way you like them, as Doug loves sausage. The old hangout hasn't changed at all, has it? Well, Gino's not here anymore, but I think I saw Cassie in the back room, so pie should just be as good. And I've never been a guy who recognizes calling pizza pies. Like, I don't know, from Arizona, so maybe that's just not what we do. But I feel like I don't really hear many other people call pizzas pies. Or Zaws. Remember when Zaw was a thing? Should be just as good, but let's face it, Gino made the best pizza this side of Little Italy. Doug Luck, what are you doing? I don't like sausage. You love sausage. No, Kitty. Douglas Ramsey loves sausage. He's like, get it together already, Kitty. Like, I know you're wearing a sweet bomber jacket, but I think it's time to move on. So then we kick back to Muir Island. Mariah is telling Kurt that enough's enough, time for you to go. So he leaves, and it's because she's going to tinker the force field so that instead of making it stronger, she's going to divert power. Elsewhere in the complex, and we get Colossus hiding in the ceiling, which sounds near impossible. Like, he must have just... Like, the 3 pages we got of Kitty, Rain, and Douglock, clearly Colossus has been struggling to get into... I was going to say the rafters, but... well, no, I think he's in the rafters, because he's not in the air vent. But he's looking at 2 goons, or the mercenaries, as Marvel fandom is nicely told him. And then we see Pete Wisdom has overflowed 3 sinks, which were... I don't know how practical they are. They're like, there's 2 to your left. They're all part of one big backwards 7 counter. And then a one right sink. But it's like, how would you... Like, if each one was being used, I feel like they're way too close together. But anyways, they're overflowing, which, I don't know, like, I don't... Remember when bathtubs used to have that little slot so you could never overfill a bathtub? I feel like the last 3 apartments we've had, none of them have had that. And I want to say sinks are like that too, but back in the 90s, they used to have those emergency slots so you could never overfill something. But I'm just saying this, but also this is, Muir Island, which is in Scotland, right? Oh no, I mean, I guess it's its own island, but so maybe they do it differently, international. And then we see Colossus come out of the rafters with a rocket clock. Which I don't know, is this just his metal on metal sound, maybe? And the whole room facility goes dark. And we never get a payoff for why Pete filled up all those sinks. And I think this is Pete, right? Like, it's not Ahab. No, it's clearly Pete. Then Kurt shows up. Danny's wearing a mask just in case... I guess they don't want to be recognized. Or she doesn't want to be recognized. And so Kurt starts kicking. Kicks to the face. We get a 2-page bullpen bulletin. They're promoting the Shi'ar Empire Guard take Manhattan. The adventures in the bullpens happening. Live Wire touches ground with Deadpool issue 1. With Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness kicking off the Deadpool ongoing series. That was very cool. Which I know I've written about it a bunch on whenever Comic-Con happens. And I'm like, hey, everyone, here's my Comic-Con story. Which I have a few. But Joe Kelly was doing, and I'm a big fan of Joe Kelly, Joe Casey, what do they call themselves nowadays? Man of Action? And how with other people. Like, I think they were core Superman artists, and then they started doing animation together. Like, at Ben 10, I think, is one of their creations. Anyway, so Joe Kelly's doing the 35th anniversary with Joe Casey. After Excalibur ends, like, they get Colossus, Kurt, and Kitty on part of their team. And so he's signing those comics, and I'm like, hey, man, your Deadpool run is amazing. And just like, as if I said a secret word, he pulls out a Deadpool comic from below, like under the table, and signs it as well. Where I'm like, hey, which in retrospect, you'd think it would be the other way around, where Deadpool was the massive hit, but he wasn't at that time. They were building it. But I want to say he takes right off after this. Or maybe he's taking off already, and they're giving him a title to capitalize on it. Eric Finn, trade paperback king, gets a spotlight. Checklist for November 28. It's $20.99. War of Tomorrow, issue 5. Avengers 3 by Rob Liefeld, Jim Valentino, and Chap Yep. Elektra 3. Imperial Guard 103. Special undercover issue. The Shi'ar Imperial Guard jumped from the page of X-Men to the planet Earth on a top secret, which sounds like you just went from Earth to Earth. A top secret mission by Brian Augustin and Chuck Wadowitz. I butchered that. Marvel Holiday Special Yule Log issue. Deck the Halls with Spider-Man, Silver Surfer, Kitty Pryde, and more by Mark Waid and Carl Kessler. Which I want to say those... Oh, and George Perez, etc. As I say, Mark Waid and Carl Kessler did a couple of Milgram comics together. Silver Surfer 124, Spectacular Spider-Man 242, Special Zoology issue featuring the return of the Chameleon and guest starring that feisty kangaroo by J.M. DeMatteis and Luke Ross, which is an amazing run. Very humor focused, which was nice. And it has Chameleon in it, so is that the issue where Mary Jane beats him with a baseball bat? It might be that storyline. Venom Tooth and Claw 2 of 3. Special Jean-Paul Sartre issue. Venom and Wolverine are trapped together in another dimension by Larry Hama and Joe St. Pierre. Marvel Fanfare 5. Special Planet Trashing issue. Longshot wrecks havoc on Mojo 2 by Jamie Campos and Stephen B. Jones. Wolverine 109, Special Rising Sun issue. Wolverine and Yokio throw down with the hand by Larry Hama and Anthony Wynn. Wolverine Encyclopedia Volume 1, Special Encyclopedia Britannica issue. Get the lowdown Wolverine with this dirt-packed volume. Remember, no salesman will call. X-Force 62, special manga style issue. The team goes up against Shinobi Shaw by John Dokes and introducing sensational new penciler Kevin Liu. Magneto 3 of 4, special Working My Way Back to You Babe issue. It's fun how all these have like introductory sentences. Joseph in a Brink of Becoming Magneto Again by Peter Milligan and Kelly Jones. Star Trek Unlimited 2 and Deadpool 1 special ice fishing issue. Deadpool sent to Antarctica to bring down Sasquatch by Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness. So there's a giant boom on Muir Island. Kurt, he's shouting like living shields, using Brian and Megan as living shields. And so they continue. Because Kurt can't do anything. Because they were going to dynamite places and then he bamfed the dynamite away. So then the LMF is just moving forward. Kurt has reunited Colossus and Wisdom with Moira. And they're questioning her why she hasn't put the force field back. And Kurt's like, she had no choice. They're using Brian and Megan as... And both of them go, living shields. And it's like, yeah, like back-to-back pages. Come on. And Pete says, we get it already. And it's like, yeah, I get it as well. And so they come... And so the MOF recognize that they've had too easy of a trip. And so they get in front of the bunker where they suppose the Xavier protocols are. And so they throw the still unconscious Megan and Captain Britain into the facility, which Mariah wasn't expecting. But since they did it, she might as well turn on the force fields, as now they're all protected. And Danny says, that could have been us contained in there. You could try yelling at it some more for all the good it's done. The advantage is there now. I'm aborting the mission. Stand by for teleport dust off. Pour out in 3, 2. And then Mariah says, music to my ears. Which is horrible Scottish impression. The advantage is theirs. Ah, well played, Danny. So she's picking up on it. And one of Disney's first live action adaptions of animation, we get Disney's 101 Dalmatian with Glenn Close. So many dogs, so little time. And I want to say Jeff Daniels in this too. Yeah. Jeff Daniels. Stephen Herrick directed it, which, who knows? Did he even direct 102? He might have. History will not. Produced by John Hughes. Well, I guess John Hughes is still alive in 97. That's nice. And so Kitty, in one final attempt to, I guess, put more Doug and Douglock, go to Doug's house. He's like, Kitty, enough. You're really beginning to worry me. Rain, please, just indulge me this one last time. Ugh. This is Ramsey's house, is it not? It doesn't appear if anyone's home. Good, I was counting on that. Isn't this breaking and entering? Well, technically, I suppose it's not breaking and entering if you're... Oh my god. No! Which seems like way too many no's for what the reveal is going to be. One hard truth later. And they're back at Doug's gravesite. Pretty stupid, huh? Sneaking into your house thinking that if Douglock saw your old room, it would snap him out of it. Oh, because she's talking to Doug's grave. But it isn't your room anymore. It's a den. Your parents turned your old room into a den, which is weird as his room's on the second floor, but maybe they... Well, I was about to say, like, maybe they watch TV on the second floor, but we have a duplex and we watch TV on the second floor, so... It's not so weird. They knew you were gone. They've dealt with your grief and gone on with their lives. There's pictures of you all over the room, but it's not your room anymore. Goodbye, Doug. Jeez, it hurts like he all get out saying that. But it's a good hurt, you know? I wish I could have spared her this. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I wish I could have spared her this. She'd be okay now. It looks like she's finished. Douglock, my name's Kitty. I'm pleased to finally meet you. The end. Then we get a pretty cool house ad with Deadpool. He's an ugly hero in an ugly world. That's why he wears a mask. Monthly Mercenary Mayhem by Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness. Deadpool. And Ed McGuinness does draw a pretty gnarly Deadpool. We get 2 pages worth of letters. Sword strokes. Editor Matt. Oh, hey, they put their names here, so that's handy. Editor Matt Edelson, Assistant Paul Turone, and Chief Bob Harris. We get letters from Jace Beckwith from Emmett, Nebraska. Marissa, I don't know, it's like red paper with black lettering, so it's hard for old dad to read. Marissa Nemeth from South Bend, Indiana. Got a letter in. Pete Foltz, address withheld by request. Which, now that we're talking about Deadpool so much, I got a letter in a Deadpool comic. I want to say issue... I shouldn't even try. But I kept it in my special comics that don't fit a category, but please keep box. Mostly it's a bunch of, like, Marvel DC crossovers. The Western... Blaze of Glory and the Apache Skies I know is in there. My DC Cameron Chase comics are in there. Trying to think what else is, but I think that's the gist of it. And 1 issue of Deadpool. And maybe another comic I have a letter printed in. I don't know. Let's see here. I have Pete Foltz request. Sean Penrose from Norwalk, Ohio got a letter printed. And Bobby Lawson from Barlowville, Kentucky. And Tim Gossett from St. Louis, Missouri, which I've actually been there, so that's fun. Next month. Man, this Colossus has been doing a lot of soul searching lately. What a drag. But now the subject, this is all italicized, and now it's even harder to read. But now the subject of some of his darkest thoughts are about to come calling. And pouting Putor is going to have to make choice. Because the acolytes are about to come calling. Warfare in that struggle. And the back cover ad is for Risk, the game of global domination. I don't know why Parker Brothers paid money to do that, but sure. It does not look like it's a new edition or something, but alright. And that, everyone, is Excalibur 105, the Doug Loves Sausage issue. And the Xavier Protocol, I guess, with a B plot. But pretty great comic. Half of it in ways. No, the Mirror Island stuff's fine. But yeah, solid issue. There we go. That's an adjective we can all agree upon. So thank you everyone for listening and indulging me as I look back at Keith Giffen. Just, R.I.P. And thank you for listening. If you would, subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. Appreciate it. You can follow me at Jacko SII on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at SNFWM. And I'll talk to you next time. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Bye.